Man, Grace Randolph, you have terminally bad takes. I don't know how this individual has like 938,000 subscribers. Terminally bad takes. This live stream where she addresses the BAFTA situation is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's not a surprise that she's being absolutely roasted by her own audience. She was roasted on Twitter. She tried to sort of, I don't know, she tried to say, "I know, I understand," and then double down. And now this is mad. This is crazy. Okay? So I thought we'd watch it and just go through it. Now, in terms of her being roasted by her audience, I mean, she got, 2.9 thousand dislikes to 1.4 thousand likes. That's a bad like to dislike ratio. That's real bad. So her audience did not like this. And you can see it from the comments as well. They're real bad. They're real bad. I mean, just her own pinned comment is comical enough, quite frankly. Update. It's being reported that John Davidson has reached out to Warner Brothers to apologise to Jordan, Lindo and Sinner's team. Great news. We can all start to move forward. Didn't you call him despicable? And now instead of apologising to him, you just wavered under with "let's move on." Yeah. Why would he apologise for an involuntary tick? How are you this mind-bogglingly... bogglingly? I can't even say that. Bogglingly dense. The fact that you weren't aware of how toxic your initial tweet says a lot. Instead, you're focusing on moving forward. Oh, man. Honestly, she's just getting destroyed. Anyway, let's have a watch. Because it's savagely bad. Genuinely bad.
So let's get started. And so I'm going to talk this through. I'm going to try and go carefully, but at a good pace so that we can discuss the other stories and also have time, of course, for a Q&A. All right? So because I know that there are a lot of thoughts about this situation. Okay. So story number 1. Hold on.
I put it on 1.5 speed.
Serious boop. Okay, so yeah, lots to discuss on this. So I wanted to talk about it in a live stream. Well, I was talking to someone this morning, and I was shocked that they had not heard of what was going on. So I wanted, I'm sure some of you have seen it in the trades. It's really, and also, it's a tough story to cover, but everyone's talking about it, and I don't want it to seem that I'm avoiding the story because it is a really big and an important one. That's right, a nuanced boop, Ryan. A nuanced boop for sure. Now, unfortunately, this is playing out on Twitter, the worst place for such a situation to play out. I think there are 2 reasons.
Why is Twitter the worst place, Grace? Why is it the worst place for it to play out?
Reasons that it's just such a just such kindling, and why this situation has just exploded. So one is that it's on Twitter, a horrible place to have a nuanced conversation, and people are extremely aggressive on Twitter. So I think that people, it was very shocking, particularly for those of us in the United States. Thank you, Emilio. And so I think that we had a strong reaction, and we actually are not. It turns out we don't know anything about Tourette's over here. So.
Wow, Americans. Apparently you're fucking stupid, according to Grace Randolph. Apparently no American knows anything about Tourette's. Grace, what are you doing?
That was really bad. And then you had the UK in Scotland just rally so hard to this guy's defense and also have so little regard for how Jordan and Lindo were feeling that I think it made the situation very difficult. I mean, I'd certainly aggressively.
Yeah, I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. If you're an actor and you're happy being paid to say the N-word and you're happy being paid to have the N-word said to you, 1, it shows that context and intent matters. And 2, it shows you're a hypocrite if you're offended by this. Because you have already displayed context and intent matters by being fine with it being said to your face. You were just getting paid for it, I guess. That's where it matters. So, yeah, wild.
He pulled me towards the side of Jordan and Lindo because I felt really awful that nobody was feeling bad for them, or at least even acknowledging that they had been wronged as well.
my heart does not bleed for actors that have been paid to say it, and yeah. Sorry, I just can't find myself caring that much. You know, if you're happy to say it and be paid to say it and be paid to have it said to you, I don't really care that much. Like Jamie Foxx, for instance, starred in Django Unchained and had the N-word thrown at him multiple times. Yeah, he didn't care. He didn't call Quentin Tarantino a racist, did he? But I guess it's the money that makes the difference, eh? Like, it sort of greases the ability to hold it down a little bit, eh? Wild.
So I think that was really tough for a lot of people to see. Now, one thing that I want to acknowledge is that the UK and the US are at very different points when it comes to the discussion around Tourette's. And I think that's also key to what's going on here. Not only, apparently somebody told me that there was a winner of Big Brother in the UK who has Tourette's. So there was a lot of education in that regard. Then, John Davidson, the gentleman in question, who is an advocate for Tourette's, he has apparently been extremely successful in the UK, getting his point across first through a documentary and then through this new film, which was heavily BAFTA nominated and a winner.
Well, that's the other thing about this is that the film won the awards, right? It won Best Actor and another award at the BAFTAs, and yet a BAFTA judge stepped down. It's like, right, did you not watch the movie then that you apparently awarded an award? What? Wild ignorance.
We've never heard of this movie. It's going to come out in the United States. We'll talk about that. But this totally, we have no idea. Outside of the UK.
A movie critic not knowing about a movie. Not critics don't need to know about every movie, but just rampant ignorance from Grace here. Wild stuff.
In Scotland, I would say that almost everybody has no idea who John Davidson is or his story. So he's apparently not only have this movie, but there's a documentary.
Well, I've been told ignorance isn't an excuse, Grace. I've been told ignorance isn't an excuse for your bigotry. Don't be such an ableist douchebag just because you're ignorant to it, huh? That's what I've been told. Wild hypocrisy.
About him from a while ago, which is also very highly regarded. So you have, I'll talk about what happened, Mr. Magic, for just a moment. So you have a situation where you have the UK and Scotland who are light years ahead of the United States in terms of this discussion. And so I think it was unfair to think that we would be at the same place that the UK is in terms of how we handle this and how, there has been zero education about Tourette's here in the United States. So that was a huge issue.
But that's just not true. That's just not a true statement. There's been zero education on Tourette's in the United States. Really? If that is true, then still do better, I guess. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that people in America know Tourette's, and I believe that people just had a gut reaction rather than compassion. That's what I believe. Not all people, obviously.
So John Davidson, I want to make it very clear, has Tourette's. And it is, there was a misconception, which I myself also had fallen for, about whether or not, I think it's very hard because, well, we'll talk about it, but I just want to make it clear that Tourette's is an involuntary, uncontrollable verbal and physical tic. John Davidson, as I tweeted last night, has no idea. I mean, he cannot control this happening. However, I also want to make it very clear that he is, otherwise very mentally sound, and he is, someone who is aware of his condition and advocates for it, and he has Tourette's, but otherwise, he seems to be, from what I can tell, doing very well. So it's a neurological disability, not a mental disability. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Okay, so what happened? Well, you have two movies. Basically, the short of it is that while Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were at the podium, John Davidson said the N-word and shouted it out loud so that it was not only audible in the auditorium, but it was also audible to people who were watching. And it was not cut from the telecast. And we're going to talk about the BAFTAs, who I think really created an issue here. Now, you have two movies that are going up against each other competing at the BAFTAs this year. Not only I Swear, but Sinners. And unfortunately, again, totally out of his control, but Mr. Davidson did use that word against several of the people associated with Sinners, some of them, not on stage, but during the BAFTAs overall. So it was, I think this turned out to be a very a difficult pairing. And that's true here. Well, we'll talk about an apology, okay? Now, there's the debate as to whether or not the people who were participating in the BAFTAs were given a good, fair warning as to what would happen. From what I've seen, okay, the people who were in attendance were told that there would be somebody in attendance, Mr. Davidson, who would maybe perhaps say something offensive or have, certain, there would be sounds and perhaps movements that might seem...
Right, well, there you go then. So people were warned, right? People were warned.
Unusual. And so they told everybody that. I do not believe that they told anybody that there would be the chance of such language as this being used in the context of their appearance on camera.
Do you need to? Would you need to spell it out? Do you have to like infantilize everyone and be like, well, it could say this and it could say that? Really? That's mad.
I don't think the BAFTA thought that far ahead, and I don't think that John Davidson thought that far ahead. But unfortunately,
well, John Davidson wasn't thinking. Remember, it's a neurological disease. It's not something he can help. Remember that.
they, I don't think that and I think Delroy Lindo has made it clear that they really did not know what situation they were walking into. So that's just really difficult.
Well, that's their fault, isn't it? Really? Sorry, that's their fault. I mean, how do you not know? Like, I simply just don't believe that people in America don't know what Tourette's is. I just don't believe that. Sorry. That's nonsense. I think more of my American viewers than to think you're all absolute morons that don't know what Tourette's is. So, Delroy was told. Michael B. Jordan was told. And then apparently they're like, well, we weren't prepared for that. It's like, well, why weren't you? Are you so disconnected from reality that you don't know what Tourette's is? Because that's bad. That says more about your intelligence than anything else.
And you can tell by their reactions when it happens. The importance of swift action. I believe very strongly, which is something that also is why I tweeted the way that I did, that whenever anybody speaks any kind of derogatory language like this, which is so hateful, it has to immediately be struck down. And Europe has the same policy when it comes to the elements of World War II. Okay, it's illegal, in fact, to say certain things in Germany. And there is, of course, such a thing as hate speech. And I think that this word that was spoken definitely qualifies for that. And so that's another thing that was so bizarre.
Yeah, hate speech is terrible, though. But also, Grace, what you're not understanding here is we have really, really stringent disability laws in the UK. And you can't discriminate based on a disability. So they were walking a bit of a tightrope here on the hierarchy of oppression. Which I understand clearly by the reaction from everyone that in the United States, black people are at the hierarchy of oppression, it seems. That is seemingly the display that's been going on here. But in the UK, that's no. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. There is disability. You can't discriminate based on disability. It's very bad to do that. Very bad to do that. You can go to prison for doing stuff like that.
That, even if it was by accident and even if it was uncontrollable, to have something so hateful said and not have it addressed, I think was concerning and alarming to a lot of people. And we're going to talk about, as you can see, what happens with the far right gets their hands on a situation.
Oh, the far right. Fucking shut up, Grace. But that's the other thing, is the whole point of the movie, I swear, is to say that you shouldn't have to apologise for something that's involuntary that you're not intentionally doing, right? Context and intent. It matters. So, I mean, where do you sit on that, really? It's interesting, hey?
Like this. And it's already happening.
So we're going to...
I also tweeted today. All right, so I think obviously we want to start out with BAFTA. BAFTA is by far and away the most...
I'm going to fast forward a little bit through this because she starts talking about some other pointless bits and pieces. And then... And you can see, like, people in the comments. Yeah, he said it at least 3 times to different people at different times that night. Yeah. Having a disability doesn't excuse someone from causing harm, involuntary or not. Yeah, it does.
And of course, again, this is uncontrollable on his part. We understand that, okay? But, he did only have outbursts, at least during this event, when it came to women and people of color. Those are the only...
So you've just said you understand that it's involuntary, but now you're still calling into question why he had the outburst. You are a dipshit, Grace.
Outbursts that I heard of. I know that he interrupted the female head of the BAFTAs, and I know that there apparently were some winners who were Asian and also had an issue with an outburst from him.
No, he said more than that. He said more than that. More than that. Even the host. He said some stuff to the host.
So I think it's just...
He also said something about Paddington Bear as well at some point.
It's very hard. Again, we're still just learning, but these things to us are hard. Because, we'll talk about America in a moment.
See? What are you talking about? It's just hard. We just don't know anything about it, Grace. We're just dumb Americans, apparently, according to Grace. Shut up, Grace.
So I think that I keep thinking about this. Obviously, it's really taking up a lot of my Twitter feed. But perhaps the problem is that I don't know if necessarily... A lot of people are insistent that Mr. Davidson does not need to apologize. And one of the things that's fueling that... Thank you, always. I'm really trying, okay, to handle this very gracefully. So there's a scene in this film, I swear, where somebody who is a parental figure in his life when he's young, Mr. Davidson's life, tells him that he should never apologize for his disorder because it's not something he can control. And, people make the point, is he'd have to be apologizing nonstop if he had to apologize. So maybe apologize is the wrong word. Perhaps recognize and condemn is the better approach. I hope that somebody can go to Mr. Davidson.
But why should he recognize and condemn himself? That's nonsense. Grace. That's nonsense.
And make this distinction. Again, I've been thinking about it, and I think that I do agree that for him to apologize would make it seem as if he actually meant what he could not control that he said, which is not was not the case because of his disorder. But I think that he should recognize the harm that he caused and the pain that he caused, which we're going to talk about, and also condemn the word.
The harm and the pain. What about him? We're not thinking about him? Oh, the poor multi-millionaire actors. Oh no.
I think that a very unfortunate thing that has happened because of this is that you have people online downplaying the use of that word, and it's not as hurtful, and people should, really just being very dismissive of the very real.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be dismissive of that word, quite frankly. And it's not to say anyone should go around saying it, but, I've said this before, is that, I said it actually on my live show last night, is that no one alive today has any tangible connection to slavery. So, at a certain point, you've got to just let it go. Either you stop saying it, you, African Americans, either you stop saying it, and thus the word will just eventually just dissipate into, just irrelevance. No one would even know it exists anymore. Or becomes a time where everyone can say it, and you change the context of it. But you can't retain a word that you have no tangible, so that means physical, you're actually touching it, relationship to on a negative manner in terms of its historical relevance, i.e. slavery. No one alive today knows anyone that was or knows of a slave. Like, that's just not, no one knows that. That's the tangible nature of it, right? No one has that. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of over it as well, right? You can't simultaneously say we've reclaimed that word and then that be the word which causes everyone just to have a meltdown all the time. But yet you are happy to see it in movies. You're happy, not you. I'm speaking on a monolith as a generalization. Or you're happy to see it in hip hop songs, rap songs, all this kind of stuff. It's just no. You can't police people's speech like that either. It's not, especially when people are so happy to shout out to try and claim that you can't be racist to white people. Like, yeah, that compassion that you're getting from people, it's dissipating real fast.
Valid reaction that a number of people have to that word. And I think that deserves, again, recognition and to condemn that word and to say that it is a big deal and that he wishes that he could control it. I would point out to Mr. Davidson that he should act as if he's at day one of his activism. He's acting as if he's where he's in his current place, but he's meeting an entirely new group of people. So he has to start from the beginning. He is meeting the American public and the global public who've never heard of him, who have no idea of what he's dealing with, who have absolutely no education on the issue. And so he really needs to start at square one and make...
Again, apparently Americans have no education on Tourette's at all. That's just not true. I refuse to believe that.
Sure that this is clear, because we don't see it the way that the people in the UK and Scotland do, because they're so much further ahead. And thank you, Steve. So yes, I think that, again, I think we can take the word apologize off the table, but instead I think we can agree on recognize and condemn. I think that's crucial, because now I want to talk about the far right. The far right is always looking for...
That's right. The far right. Ladies and gents, it's the far right.
Issues that they can grab onto that excuse their behavior. Always pointing to these things and trying to co-opt them. As soon as I saw, people talk about a slippery slope, about acting, I was trying to genuinely ask, what should BAFTA have done? How should BAFTA have handled the situation to protect everybody involved, right? And some people said, I understand that it's a slippery slope to talk about where and when people with disabilities can be. Obviously, if you have a disability that's not disruptive.
Where and when? Listen to this woman. She's claiming the far right have got an issue, and she's literally about to say that people with disabilities don't belong in certain places. Wild.
To somebody that's totally, that's a different situation, okay? But yes, I understand that that's a slippery slope. But I think that you have the counter to that is you have to understand what a slippery slope is to allow this word under any circumstances. There are no circumstances under which this word or any word like it can be said. And I would hope that the black community...
But there is. If you have Tourette's. And I bet she reviewed Django Unchained rather positively as well. So, no, you can't simply say, under no context, that word should be said.
Slope is to allow this word under any circumstances. There are no circumstances under which this word or any word like it can be said. And I would...
Under no circumstances. Grace, you are monumentally fucking retarded to say that. Because you literally are a movie reviewer and you would have reviewed countless movies with that word in it. Shut up, you moron. Not only that, Tourette's, it does actually give you that pass. I'm sorry, but it does.
That the black community would also come forward and say that they were equally as upset as I am now if a slur against a different group was used. So that is why this is so crucial. This has to be, you must say that this is horrible immediately, okay? Because, it's the dog whistle argument, when there are not everybody, but there are certainly a lot of people online who are defending Mr. Davidson's right to say this word because they want to say it. And that's really the problem.
No, they're defending John Davidson because they see basically a modern day online lynching. That's all that they're doing, mate. That's literally all that they're doing. They're being compassionate. They're not choosing ignorance. They're choosing compassion. That's all.
Really take a hard look at anyone who's defending Mr. Davidson and ask why. I'm sure some of them are genuine, but some of them are not. And that is the issue. I don't know. I've seen issues in the UK and the news, but obviously I can't speak to it because I don't live there. But the hate in America is just at levels. Obviously there's been hate in America at all times. And there have been times when it's been very high. This is certainly one of the highest. And so you just...
Hate in America towards who, Grace? Because I could pull up my phone and look at some statistics and show you... you don't want to play statistical games. You don't want to talk about the likelihood of certain demographics causing harm and having, like a disabled person. Is the likelihood of them going to cause harm, or should they be segregated from society? You don't want to play that game because there are certain subsections of society who are vastly overrepresented per capita on incredibly nasty violent crimes. It's not something you want to play. It's not a good thing to go down if you're on that side of the aisle. It's not right. It's not a game you want to play.
Not allow this to take shape. I feel like there would be bad actors. I just feel it's an extremely bad situation. And I worry as a woman, not only in solidarity with other groups, but for women as well, that what kind of language does this let in? I was tweeting about it earlier today, and people said some of the most disgusting stuff about me. And then they were just looking at an excuse to say something bad about me. And this...
No, Grace. It's because you were demanding apologies and you were displaying just rancid ignorance to a man with a disability. That's all it was.
Fortunately, Mr. Davidson needs to realize that he created the opportunity for that. And so that's really, really bad.
Does he? You're going to put that all on him? Fuck off. Again, the distinct lack of compassion. It's mad, isn't it?
I was also extremely, extremely concerned, okay, to see that I Swear has been set to open opposite the Michael Jackson movie. I hope that Sony Pictures Classics, who is releasing this movie, considers moving the film. I think that I Swear wants to come from a place of positivity. And I think that it is getting very quickly co-opted by people who are not in that headspace. Mr. Davidson should be a figurehead for acceptance and understanding, not for, trying to tell people that doing things that are offensive is not a big deal. And I just feel like, as I tweeted earlier today, that toxic channels who are already making some of the most offensive poster frames that you can think of Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, and using this actor, by the way, in a way I'm sure he doesn't want to be used, to further their own agenda and what they would like to do. They're trying to chip away at whether or not it's wrong to say that. And it is. And, that's why I feel like Mr. Davidson needs to speak out about how wrong this word is. Even if it's not an apology, because he doesn't want to concede in that space. Which, again, that's triggering for him. We can accept that.
Why does he need to say that the word's bad, that everyone knows, is the magic word that causes a meltdown and no one should say it? Like, everyone knows this. What? Everyone's reactions shown this to be the case anyway.
But I just think it's really horrible. So I'm really worried. I really wish they would move, I Swear. I think
that... And she's trying to say that they should move the movie so it doesn't open out against the Michael Jackson movie. You're mental.
To be honest with you, if I Swear really wanted to be a positive force, it should be out on digital right now. I think people are going to forget about this movie by the time April 24th. That's way too far away. I think, I was so upset about this that I was, I was really just didn't want to, I was just like, this is a horrible situation. And just, I think a lot of people were disgusted. But, just a couple of days later, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm ready to have this conversation. All right, maybe, yes. It just seems so offensive that I'm like, okay. But despite all the hate and horrible comments online, and I honestly think even some of the people who are defending Mr. Davidson from a good place should really think about how horrible they were in their comments, okay?
I can't watch anymore. I was going to do a little bit more, but I can't. It's just mind-numbingly dumb. She goes on to say more rubbish, but you get the train of her thought. And so she's been absolutely destroyed in her own comments. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Look, Coprolalia is outbursts that are obscene and triggered by certain characteristics and factors that are seen as taboo. Shouting bomb in an airport, etc. It's literally what it is. Oh, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. But yeah, and her comments have just roasted her. Just destroyed her. Scotland is part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Grace. Not a fair discussion if one isn't familiar with the subject. That's a very irritating statement. My education on Tourette's was watching the streamer Sweet Anita. What do you mean the US doesn't know about Tourette's? There's been numerous talk shows that have covered it. I've known about it for years. If you don't know anything about it, then you have no right to get upset about it. Learn about it. What the F? You don't know about Tourette's? Don't loop all of us. All of the US with your stupidity. Grace, have you watched I Swear? You might have a little more empathy if you did. Oh, it's so funny. Who's we? You don't know about something, so everybody doesn't know. Oh, it's mad. It's just pure stupidity. It's just constant. Someone throw this girl a life jacket. She's drowning. Man, it's crazy. Your backtracking is hilarious. This is sad. Apologise for what? Yeah, crazy. Crazy. I mean, it's funny, but there you go. She'd been destroyed online. And I'm kind of here for it. Because people should do better. Show some compassion, man. And no, I'm not going to show compassion to people that are baying for blood and not being compassionate to a disabled man. I've made this statement before. I'm not going to do it. I'm not interested. Anyway, thought you'd find this funny.